Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I beg to move that this House has considered the impact of inheritance tax on family-owned businesses. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship today, and it's a privilege to lead on today's debate, which is a matter of real consequence to our economy. Let me begin by paying tribute to the extraordinary contributions family-owned businesses make across the country, not least in my own constituency of Mid Dumbartonshire. They're not just economic actors, they're part of the fabric of our communities. They offer good local jobs and apprenticeships, they sponsor local sports teams, support local charitable activities, and keep our high streets and industrial parks alive with character and energy and local pride. But, according to the Fraser Wallander Institute, in 2025, these businesses are in turbulent and uncertain times, facing national insurance increases, with many scaling back plans for workforce expansion and recruitment as a result. The latest quarterly economic indicator from the Scottish Chambers of Commerce network presents a stark picture as businesses face pressure that threaten to derail growth, investment and competitiveness. Taxation is now the #1 concern facing Scottish businesses.
On that point, can I commend the Honourable Lady for Mid Dumbartonshire for bringing forward for bringing forward this issue, and she's absolutely right to highlight the issue of taxation. Does the Honourable Lady not agree that by taxing businesses by 20% based on the value at the time of the death of the owner cannot possibly take into account the owner's personal input into the business and leaves a situation which can run a successful business into the ground? There's only so much that one person can be taxed before the burden is too great, and taxation the government is pushing is definitely going to destroy the farming sector.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the Honourable Member for raising that point. I completely agree with him. Research by the Centre for Economic and Business Research found 9 out of every 10 privately owned businesses in the UK are family-owned and provide employment for nearly 16 million people and contribute over 200 billion in taxes annually.
Will the Honourable Lady give way?
Yes.
Can I thank the Honourable Lady for giving way, and she is making an excellent speech, and I congratulate her for securing this very important debate. Did she see the research yesterday from Family Business UK, which points to absolute disastrous impact from the inheritance tax on family-owned businesses, and in West Worcestershire, my constituency alone, would lead to a reduction of 18 million of gross value added and 286 full-time equivalent jobs.
Thank you to the Honourable Member for raising that. I have seen the research, and indeed I do refer to it further on in my speech. It was a very timely publication.
Well, I'm grateful. She's being very generous on this very important issue. When she started her speech and talked about the contribution that family businesses make, she could have been talking about J.W. Lee's, a brewery in my constituency, which has got nearly a 200-year history of making contributions to the local community and brewing very good beer, or Joseph Holt's, just on the edge of my constituency. The changes proposed in the business property relief, it is estimated by the CBI, will lose the government nearly 1.9 billion in tax. Does she agree with me that before the government carry through on these changes, they should have a consultation and look at the impact on tax and look at the impact on local family businesses?
Thank you to the Honourable Member for raising that. I completely agree. It does appear that there are many factors that haven't been taken into account by the government. And this has brought me on to a local company in my constituency of Mid Dumbartonshire, the owner of Archibald Young Limited, Founders and Engineers, a family-run foundry that has been operating in Kirkintilloch since 1959, not quite as long as the Honourable Member's business. Thanks to Ian Young for sharing his company's position and highlighting the vital role his company plays in defence, producing high precision critical components. Since it was established, the company has grown steadily over 3 generations. At one time, Scotland had over 260 foundries. Now it has 12, and 11 of those are family-owned, and all are 3rd generation.
I'm most grateful to the Honourable Lady is giving an excellent speech. Will she make the point that we don't really understand where the government is coming from? I quite understand why they want to claw back money from big estates or from people who just buy farms for inheritance tax avoidance. Not Jeremy Clarkson, of course. Jeremy Clarkson is a fantastic chap. But I can't understand why they're focusing on family farms. So will the Honourable Lady in her speech make the point that the NFU has offered various compromises and the Minister should meet with the NFU in a positive way and try and ensure that we keep our family farms run by families?
Thank you to the Honourable Member for that intervention, and I do agree. I think it is very important that we understand that these businesses and family farms exist in their own right, and they're not simply personal property, even though they are family owned. So today, the Young's Foundry is under Andrew Young, and it continues to provide that skilled and specialist manufacturing from its bases in Kirkintilloch, Motherwell and the north of England. Like so many family-run firms that we are here to talk about today, their success has been built over decades of hard work and reinvestment in their business and their workforce. Yet recent government policies are putting this at risk. Now, clearly, these businesses are able to cope with challenges in the economic and business environment, which they've navigated over generations. But when government policies are hostile to their success and to their survival, their ability to create jobs and grow the economy is eroded, and their future is uncertain. Whether it's rising energy and employment costs, burdensome business rates, or disproportionate regulatory hurdles, these enterprises face challenges that their multinational competitors are often better equipped to absorb, or which they do not face at all. The reforms to business property relief and agricultural property relief announced in the autumn 2024 budget have dealt family businesses a blow which risks undermining the very principle of intergenerational succession that has been at the heart of their success. Retaining profits to reinvest in business assets, to enhance business competitiveness and invest in product development. Prior to these reforms, the shares held in private family-owned businesses could be passed on upon death to the next family generation, free of inheritance tax, enabled by these shares qualifying for 100% business property relief. The 2024 budget introduced a new £1 million relief cap, beyond which inheritance tax is due with business property relief of 50%, resulting in an inheritance tax charge of 20% being applied to such transfers upon death. This sudden change means that family financial planning opportunities are much more limited, and under the new rules, any lifetime transfer of business property relief or agricultural property relief assets made on or after the 30th of October 2024 will be subject to the new relief limits if the donor dies on or after the 6th of April 2026. Mr. Chair, another family-owned business based in my constituency of Mid-Dumbartonshire is Gap Holdings Limited. And thank you to Mark Anderson of Gap for allowing me to share his company's position with you today. I know that he has also met with the Secretary of State for Business and Trade and colleagues. Founded in 1969, this tool hire business has grown dramatically. By reinvesting its assets in its assets over the past 10 years, tripling its turnover and now employing over 2,000 people across the UK, its annual profit to March was 44 million, and earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortisation was 132 million. For GAP, the potential inheritance tax charge arising on death of the second generation would amount to tens of millions of pounds. The proposed £1 million relief cap would make no meaningful difference to the size of the problem. 3 months ago, GAP exceeded the £1 million mark in total donations to charitable causes. This is the kind of effect that these businesses are the benefits that they're bringing to the community. These changes would require independent valuation of companies to be undertaken. Can the Minister clarify if there is a consistent and defined methodology for this activity? When a family business owner dies and leaves shares to the next generation, there is no cash available to pay inheritance tax liability and no windfall to successors. In practical terms, it is business as usual, and the business continues to use the assets to trade and contribute economically to the local community. This is not the same as selling a business. However, it may force the company to be sold completely to pay the liability. Mr. Chair, will the Minister confirm that this is not the Government's intention that a family-owned business that has been passed down through the generations is forced to be sold as a result of this change, or forced into failure by having to take on unsustainable levels of debt? Yeah.
Thank you, Honourable Lady, for giving way and for securing debate on a very important issue. Like herself, I've also spoken to GAP as other family businesses that I have in my constituency. Would she agree with me that whilst the Government is absolutely right to ensure we have enough funding to pay for public services through tax changes, but that one possible option might be to allow businesses to pay for inheritance tax in the way it's been proposed, if that business is then being passed on to another family member, so the tax liability is still being met, but being met in a way which does not impact on further future generations and allowing those businesses to succeed and thrive?
Thank you for that intervention. I think that it's important that we look at all ways to make sure that we have a system which does not cause the demise of these family-based businesses. Yeah.
I'm grateful for her giving way. I think you're wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure the HMRC guidance says that at present, where there's 100% relief, valuations for BPR are done on the basis of the book value, which, as my honourable friend will know, is very often very different from the actual value of an asset. That being the case, I wonder how easy it would be for the Government to have reached any reasonable understanding of the actual value of assets that they are now seeking to tax.
Thank you to my honourable friend for that intervention. And I think that that was the point that I was making when I was asking the Minister if there is an established methodology in order to make sure that the valuation of companies reflects the current situation. So, finally, this change doesn't target the ultra-wealthy or global conglomerates. In many parts of the UK, even modest enterprises, especially those with land or equipment, which are often the biggest local employers, exceed the £1 million relief cap. And unlike large corporations, family businesses can't just offshore structures or use complex tax arbitrage to avoid the costs. I'm sure that every honourable member here today, including the Minister, agrees with me that preserving the businesses at the heart of our communities should be the priority of the Government, not erecting barriers which create an environment too toxic for family businesses to survive. So will the Minister consider raising the relief cap to £2 million as requested by the Scottish Chamber of Commerce network, which makes more family businesses exempt from this dangerous inheritance tax to protect jobs and local businesses? The reality is that the Government has not undertaken an impact assessment, and according to the Office of Budget Responsibility estimates, the changes to business property relief and agricultural property relief will only raise around £1.8 billion over a 4-year period. But this comes with a high uncertainty rating, because it will because behaviour change may change that significantly. But this can't be compared to the 27 billion of VAT, late PAYE and national insurance that HMRC has yet to collect. Forcing family businesses to reduce investment, withdraw capital, dispose of assets, or sell or shut the business entirely to release cash to fund inheritance tax liability will not only weaken the competitiveness of the business themselves, but also the wider UK economy. These changes may be well-intentioned, but they're misdirected in their execution. They risk treating genuine business owners in the same way as passive investors, and in doing so, they forget that these reliefs were originally designed to protect the continuity of real working businesses in real communities. In conclusion, will the Minister consider looking at amending the proposed legislation to ensure that the changes do not weaken genuine family businesses? I will do.
I thank the honourable member for giving way, and she's made a very powerful contribution. Before she closes, I think it is important just to home in on the figures. And the Family Business UK report shows in my constituency of Upper Bann that the changes to business property relief and agricultural property relief will result in 23.63 million reduction in GVA, as well as the loss of 381 full-time equivalent jobs, and will be the end of many family farms. That multiplied out across the United Kingdom, 208,000 jobs, 14.8 billion reduction in GVA, and a net fiscal loss to the government of 1.9 billion. Would she agree that the death tax is immoral and should be scrapped?
Thank you very much for that intervention. I certainly agree that we need to protect our family-owned businesses and do everything we can to help them thrive, rather than put them in a position where the economy risks losing jobs and growth. So, just to go back and to reiterate, will the Minister consider looking at amending the proposed legislation to ensure that the changes don't weaken genuine family businesses and make the transfer of shares in a family business to the next generation exempt from inheritance tax for 7 years, providing the business is not sold in that period? If it is sold within that period, then inheritance tax becomes payable along with the capital gains tax, both of which can be funded from the proceeds of the sale. This government has stated that growing the economy is essential, but attacking the backbone of the UK economy, the family businesses which have proved they can adapt and change rapidly to meet market need and conditions, which support supply chains and local jobs, should be supported, not raided for a relatively de minimis gain to the Exchequer. Thank you.